Okay, now let me contrast that experience with what happened with my dad. My dad, as great as he was, and he had a lot of great qualities and features, my dad continued to struggle financially after he lost the house. Financially, he remained right on the edge of the poverty line, maybe even below it. He was in government housing even in his final years. And as I mentioned, he had fully bought into this buy term and invest the rest mentality. But like so many Americans, he bought term and never invested the rest. That's one of the big myths of that philosophy. Nobody invests the rest. They buy term and they go out to eat, or they buy term and buy video games too. So even those that get invested with the rest, they get typically underwhelming results in the market. They're sold a lie that they could just fall off a log and get 10% or 12% a year in the stock market. And it's just patently false. Markets go up and down, and average returns are pointless. They mean nothing. So after all those years, my dad really didn't have a big pile of money that he was prepared to retire on. Now, he still had his term insurance policy, however, but somewhere in the spring of 2023, he emailed me and told me that he was planning to stop paying on that policy, that term policy, and just let it lapse. Lapse means you just lose the coverage and you stop paying premiums. Now, he had been renting that term life insurance policy for many years, and he had just decided he no longer felt like he could afford the premiums. So the premiums were about to go up in cost, so he just let it lapse around May of 2023. Now, just a few months later, in July, Dad had a stroke. He may have wanted that term insurance policy to protect his life financially after that. I don't know. But right after he had a stroke, most insurance companies would not offer him life insurance. They want to see a steady improvement before they would offer coverage after a stroke. Now, just again, a simple note, we have had folks have a stroke and then get life insurance coverage again. But usually the insurance company wants to take a close look at things for a year or so. So right after the stroke, we knew that dad was uninsurable. We didn't know at the time was that dad didn't have a year to wait. In fact, he died just a few months later after his stroke in September of 2023. So think about that for a minute. He had faithfully followed the average financial advice that so many financial pundits spout off on the radio. He had invested in his home, constantly talking about it like it was his centerpiece of his retirement plan. And he would continually add additions onto the house, try to improve it here and there. And then the plan was to sell that house for a bunch of money because houses always go up in value, and then live in some small spot and live off the profit from the house. Now, that never ended up materializing for my dad. The term insurance, too. The term insurance he had held for decades and that he had even recommended to other people as a health insurance agent and a life insurance agent was worthless to him when he needed it the most.